So that's the problem statement. How do we solve it? Well, I say this. Mentally tough people focus on what they can affect. And we place our trust. There's three things we can place it in that has no dependency whatsoever. And that is in our preparation, right? If we're relentless, if we have attention to detail, if we prepare properly, we can trust our habits in the moment of competition. We can trust each other. If we believe that you, and all the way around the table, we're all committed to a greater cause, we can trust each other in that fight together. And then the third one is in conviction and purpose. All right, and that's a big one, conviction and purpose. Believing that short-term failures are necessary, not just likely, but necessary to produce long-term success. So when I failed at baseball, a lot of guys that go into the SEAL teams, they want to be a SEAL their whole entire life, from the time they were little and they got the posters and the t-shirts. I didn't. I never thought about it until I was 20-something years old. So I fail at baseball. I'm completely broken. I was a tough kid and I did a lot of things right, and I was a hard worker in the game. So when it took the game from me, and it was a mental problem, because I was a closer. I would come in at the end of the game, shut the door, and I was really proud of my ability to do that. I was pretty cocky, And so it destroyed my ego. I mean, it just brought me to my knees. I was devastated, blindsided, and I felt like I had failed and lost my purpose in life. And then this is the trick. This is what I learned later, was that, as I started to feel sorry for myself. So in this failure, here I am, and I start living a life outside of what I believe to be morally correct. I wake up for like 3 days of binge drinking one day, like can't remember the last week, whatever, just sitting there. I figured out I was going nowhere fast, right? And I realized that victimhood produces more victimhood. It's an absolutely worthless emotion in an effort to win. And so I stopped viewing this as having taken my purpose, and I viewed the failure as having purpose for me to learn, grow, and get better, to be forged into a stronger person. And that choice was mine. Now, I had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't know what to do. I was having trouble sleeping, so I prayed. And I felt just an undeniable peace come across my heart. 9/11 happens right about that same time, that same year. There's 9/11 and a few other things happen that push me in that direction, and I decide that I'm going to go be a Navy SEAL. And now I wouldn't trade that failure for anything in the world, but it took having conviction and purpose. And so again, it goes back placing our trust into preparation in each other and having conviction and purpose. And through that failure, I gained self-awareness and the necessary motivation that I never would have had to be able to get through Hell Week. Hell Week in SEAL training, it's 5.5 days, and you only sleep 2 hours on Wednesday and 2 hours on Thursday. So it's a total of 4 hours for the entire week, and you're wet and you're cold almost the entire time. I would have never been able to get through that without the things that I learned through the failure. I learned that baseball and my job, my profession was baseball at the time. I learned that baseball defined me. I was completely dependent on being successful at it for my own sense of self-worth, rather than allowing my character to create success. So now I say what I do doesn't define who I am. Who I am defines what I do. All right? And I stick to three things. I think courage, faith, and hard work. And I feel like if I live those three things every day, which are within my control, the rest will take care of itself. I knew exactly who I was, what I wanted, and why I wanted it. And that's the first fundamental principle to success, I believe, is who, what, why, establishing identity, both as an individual and a team.